So we took this car to the lake last weekend and ran it around on the shore on the gravel, had a great time with it. But unfortunately, I drove the car into the water. And as you can see here, it went completely into the lake. It was submerged for a few seconds. We got it out fairly quickly and tried to drive it, but obviously the ESC or the motor, one of the two had been damaged by the water, thinking it was the ESC. So we let it dry out real good before we tried to do it, tried to run it anymore. And when we got it back into the shop, we realized that the ESC was okay, as was the motor. It ran fine, steering controls worked well, so the ESC survived that encounter with the lake water. But what we did notice on the car is that one of the guideposts supporting the body on the front end of the car had broken off, so we need to replace the guidepost. So what we're going to show in this video is the process of, on a Suchiyu 16101 Pro, how you go about replacing the guidepost. And let's get started. So the first thing we did was to consult the manual, which has all of the parts list for the various components of the car, as well as the parts numbers, so that we could make sure that we had it in stock or that we could order the correct part number. So the Suchiyu manual is pretty good. It shows the exploded view of how the guideposts mount onto the car, shows the part number and the part number of the screws that are used. And then towards the back of the manual, you'll see several of the individual parts. So this is part number 6005, ordered from AliExpress, and this is the part we're going to replace on the car. They also make an upgraded aluminum guidepost. We're not going to do that this time. We're going to stick with the plastic guideposts for this video, but the aluminum guideposts are available and probably won't experience the breakage that the plastic ones do. So this is the guidepost as it comes from AliExpress. Again, this is a Suchiyu replacement part, same ones they use on the new cars. So it has two posts with holes in it that slip down into the sockets on the car, and they allow you to adjust the height of the guideposts. So before doing that, we're going to disconnect the battery before we do any repairs on the car. So as you can see from this front view, the guidepost is broken. The guidepost is held on by these two Phillips screws that go through the bracket where the upper end of the shock absorbers are and go into those holes you saw that enable you to adjust the height of the guideposts. So we're going to loosen these screws, one on each side of the guideposts, and try to remove the guidepost and replace it with a new one. Now, when you're doing this, sometimes the screws don't necessarily come out to the point where you can pull them out of the little socket or the hole that they're in. So we've loosened them up really good, and now we got to figure out how to get in there and pull the actual screw out of the hole. For this repair, it's actually easier if we remove the upper end of each of the shock absorbers. So that's what this part of the video is showing. We're just going to get them up there and get them out of the way so we can get our fingers in there or a pair of tweezers or something to actually remove the screw that's holding the guidepost in place. So here we've removed the shocks and loosened the screws. You can see that the guideposts themselves are fairly loose. We're going to try to poke it with a small pointer that we can try to push the screw out the hole. And if that doesn't work, we're just going to wiggle around and get our fingernails in there and remove the screw on each side of the guidepost that's holding it in. As you can see in the video, we also unhooked the LED lights wire to get it out of our way as well. So now we can reach in there with our fingernails and remove each one of the screws on each side, which we've done. And now it's just a matter of securely grabbing the guide bar itself and trying to pull it up from within the sockets. And in this case, this car is pretty dirty. There's a lot of dirt and grime in there, so it might be a little bit sticky and hard to pull out. But you see the broken one next to the brand new one that we have. So once we've removed the old broken guidepost, we're going to take the new guidepost that there is not a front and a back. You can turn it either way, and it's going to go down into the sockets that you see right behind the shock absorber. Push it down far enough so that your body height is the correct height and so that it's even on each side. So I think this is the third or fourth hole down, and once we have that in position, then we can start to replace the 2 screws that hold the guideposts into place and get those tightened up, and we'll have a brand new guidepost on this car. So you're going to insert both screws to hold the blocks on. You want to make certain that you get these screws firmly screwed down without so much that you're going to strip out the plastic threads. You always want to be careful about something like that. So we're going to speed this up a little bit while we're attaching these. Again, you want to make sure that they're firm without stripping the threads. Double check to make sure that it's seated properly and installed well. And then it's basically just a matter of reconnecting the shock absorbers, the upper end of the shocks, to the frame. And we'll speed this up as well while we're doing that. But once the shocks are back in place, then you're pretty much done with this repair. Just like with the screws on the guidepost, when you're screwing down the screws to hold the upper end of the shocks in place, just make sure when you're plastic to plastic, you're not going to over tighten these and strip out the threads at all. So once that's done, we're going to reconnect our wire for the LED lights back into the ESC, and we'll attach the body to the top, make sure the holes line up and everything. And I think we're ready to go out and race this car again. Hopefully stay out of the water at the lake this time. I think we're pretty much good to go. So we hope you find these videos helpful. If you do, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. And thanks for watching the channel. We'll look forward to seeing you on our next video.